Hello everyone. What is going on? Oh, wait. Away for a second, but we are back. Hello there. I'm Grandmaster Dennis Boros, and we have that beautiful day. Many of you've been waiting for this game review. Game review for subs. That's not the only thing we're going to do this time. Actually, we're going to start off with a bit of game analysis, not of players, of subs that is, but just a special view on chess positions. Because that will help us kind of find the way to understanding this game, which is so difficult. That's why we call it chess. Now, first off, to understand chess positions, we first have to observe. So let's get into it. We're going to start with a few games that we're going to analyze, and after that, we're going to hop on in the boat. So, this is the first game, and we're going to observe this position. Bishop f4, this was invented by the Hungarian grandmasters and popularized. Pretty famous. Bishop f4, castle e3. And this has been played many times, most famously in the Karpov-Korchnoi game. Matches, actually it was Korchnoi-Karpov, where they played this c5 line. However, in recent years, this kind of waned, and they're coming back to this knight bd7 line, which was heavily featured in other games. Knight d7. This was heavily featured in at least one of these World Cups, where Grishuk had some trouble with this and often would bail out these games. However, Knight d7 again became one of the most popular openings. c5, since Nakamura started playing this line. With great success, by the way. c5. Now, first off, c5 is a strange move. It's strange because normally you want to have pressure in the middle. Mostly want to have pressure on your opponent's center. The whole game is revolving around these four squares. Whoever owns them is more likely to have an advantage or win the game after all. c5. Now, this is a very strong move, basically clamping down Black's position. Is this decisive? No, obviously Nakamura wouldn't be playing this line if this was. c6, h3. Can anybody tell me what could be the idea of this little move of h3? And these little moves make a lot of sense and actually makes you a better player when you understand these little twists and positions. So what is the idea of h3? One of the things is to get the bishop to h2. However, that's not the only way. Arsenal Sakyan, if you don't stop the caps lock, that will have consequences. So preventing knight g4, not really. Knight g4 is not a big threat. It's true, it creates a little square on h2, which is good. Bishop h2 is an idea. And in fact, it stops knight h5. So if you go knight h5, now there is bishop h2, which normally wouldn't happen. If white would play b4, then there could be knight h5. And as we are going to see a game like that, is an idea trying to eliminate this strong f4 bishop. And black would get the bishop pair, and as we know, the bishop pair can be very dangerous. So h3 was played by white, preparing to get a safe square, b6, a5, a3. So first off, we need to take a glance at this position. At a first glance, who should be better? Just based on chess principles. White. And then you always have to ask the question, why? So you always have to have a thesis in chess. You can say, hey, I believe white is better here, but then you have to give proof. In this sense, chess is a lot like math. If you don't have a solution to your problem, then you don't really have an answer. Pim Coleman saying about equal, but black has safer king. If it's equal, something equalizes out, or it's roughly even. I don't quite get it. What does it have to do with black having a safer king? Because has the lead in development. White has the lead in development. So when we talk about lead in development, we usually talk about being castled. And if anyone has the lead in development, it's not white. Hello, someday. Pim Coleman has the idea that black has a safer king, but white has more space. Why do you think that white has more space? I wonder. Now, I really know that you guys love the concept of this is equal and etc. etc. Not saying that's wrong, but that's kind of like learning languages and saying, I don't know in that particular language. It is the most and easiest thing to say. Oh, it's equal because the weather is fine and that's castle and that's that and that's that. Yeah, but in fact, chess is a complex game. It is more like checks and balances. So it's more about, okay, one side has this, but the other side has that. And usually they equalize. So they're about even. It's not like, oh, it's equal. In generalities, it's not true. Equality is rarely achieved, by the way, especially in these closed systems. Alright, so I am curious, and I'm going to ask you guys, who has more central control here? And here's a poll your way. Isendor is saying looks equal, but maybe black is a bit better as the king is castle and more control in the center. Is some days think he has more pawns on the other half of the board, so it's space advantage. Is it a pawn count that matters or how far advanced they are? I'm asking you someday. Which one of those things matter? Is it the quantity or the quality that matters? So far, the poll shows 4-1 lead to white, which is interesting. Just a reminder for newcomers, this 4 square is the middle, the center, so we call it in chess. So the truth is the following. Nobody has bigger central control. So if you ever mentioned that, hey, the position is equal because there's nobody having more space in the middle of the board, then I would say, hey, that's a good argument. White has a pawn on d4 and black has a pawn on d5. According to the poll, white has more central control and nobody is on 2 votes against 5 with white. Hello, Golden Peak. So based on the center, nobody has the advantage. So if you thought that according to that control, nobody's better, you're correct. However, on the flank, white has extra space. And white is the only one who actually crushed through and is in the camp of the other side. Hello, Killer Stapler. So c5 is more of the flank. This is the flank. This is the middle. Thank you for the follow, Golden Peak. Now, they say if you don't have the middle, strike in the flank. And that's exactly what white does here. He's trying to gain some space. And he has more space because he invaded black's 5th rank. But let's continue. Bishop a6, takes, castles. So one of you mentioned that black has already castled and white has yet to do the same. And that was one of the positives for black's position. So if I were to evaluate this position, this is the following thing I would say. White has more space than black. That bishop is a little passive. However, black is castled and white has not. Now, the problem, on the other hand, is that this is a close position. So it's very hard to exploit the fact that the white king is in the middle. So naturally, white should be going for castling. Bishop a6, takes, castle. Are you asking b5 here? Someday. Is that your question? b5 is possible. This was the old main line. C takes b5, c6, the idea of c7. Queen c8 is a nice little intermediate move. You can take on d7 because the queen takes on c3, and that's very good for black. So c7, and this leads to crazy positions. Most prominently, something similar happened in the Anand-Carlsen game, where Carlsen lost to Anand. So b4, knight b5, etc. even though black has an extra pawn, he has to be careful because that c pawn is just strong. King's Gambit, thank you for the follow. So let me add that over here. So b5 is an interesting idea. However, white decides to castle instead. And now we have to observe a second time. What has changed since the few moves we made? Well, white has castled. That's one of them. Since white has castled, does that give a bit of a shift in this position? How would you evaluate the position now? It's a shift, but a bit more for the white side, right? Black appears to be better. Pressure on a file. I don't see that pressure yet, though. I still like white. That rook on a6 looks weird. That's true. So oftentimes you do want to point out if a piece is misplaced. How about pawn weaknesses? So play chess for life, there's one thing that I think you have to understand. Looking and analyzing a position doesn't always have to have moves or calculation involved. Sometimes observing is more important than actually coming up with moves. So, as we talked before, still nobody has an advantage in the middle of the board. But white has some more space on the queen side. And also, there is a weakness on c6. So in the long term, that pawn can become a crucial weakness. Queen c8, rook b1. Now, again, I'm not saying that what you're saying, play chess for life, a takes b4, and queen a8 is necessarily so bad. You do want to get the a file. However, the strategic elements of this position remains the same, as the c6 pawn will be a chronic weakness. ab, a8, but instead Garcia played queen c8. You have a question, Renato Maragno. I have a question about ATK the flanks. What does ATK stand for? And which side to choose? Can we attack on two wings? Yes, you can, and we're going to get into that topic very soon. Just wait and we'll get there. So queen c8, rook b1. Now, whenever you're looking at these type of positions, you have to think about the following things. Who would it benefit to exchange pieces? Yes, so we're doing game reviews first. First off, I'm going to show you these couple of games, and then we're going to take a look at the games that the subs submitted. And if you're a sub, you can feel free to submit it now. I'm going to add it if that works for you. Also, after that, exactly, play chess for life, we are going to have challenges. Pimcom is saying white would be benefited by the exchanges as his pawns are closer to promote. Casperblood is saying black has less space and would benefit. So if you have less space, you usually want to exchange pieces. Not as much as white, because the less pieces, the less likely you can capture the c6 pawn. The more pieces you have, the more likely you will capture it. And Isender also has a good point. Black will benefit as most of their minor pieces are not active. In fact, I'm gonna add that to this study. Good point by Isendor. Black will benefit from exchanging Black would benefit from exchanges if their minor pieces are not active. Exactly. So these guys are not too active. So black would be super happy to exchange. So no wonder a takes b4 happens. A takes b4, a takes b4. Black is going to get the the line control, which is good. I think I have it, Edgar Saint. I already have it. You sent it, and I'm going to take a look at it. Previous one. So AB, Queen B7. I think you posted it on Discord. Queen B7, trying to get the rook on the file. Queen C2, Rook A8, Rook FC1. Now, as we mentioned before, with these pieces still on the board, white is the one to be favored. Now, what would you do in this position? Eventually, white wants to attack the c6 pawn. How can you avoid that as black? Well, one thing is to trade on c5. That's one way. Is there any other way? Pushing b5. So which way would you go? Would you push b5? Push b5? Or b takes c5? Well, you can move your queen away. Play chess for life. However, you're not answering to your dilemma. You're again trying too hard to get into action. However, you can't really get there because most of those squares are blocked off. There's a dead heat between pushing the pawn and taking on c5. So pushing b5 wins. You guys are correct. Why did you want to push the pawn instead of taking though? Why didn't you want to take? What was the reasoning? And that's important. Always try to have a reason why you make moves. Chess is a cerebral game. If you have no thoughts in it, then your moves will suffer. Well, one thing, and that's correct, you get a tempo on the queen. But the other thing is, there is a chance to attack that c6 pawn, which normally you cannot. Because there was only one way to get into this position, to black's position, and that's the a file. But the a file is dominated by those rooks. It's not really the tempo that matters, you're right, Bookstone, but the fact that you expose the c6 pawn. It's like getting sunburned. If you're always in the shade, you'll never get sunburned. But once you go outside and that c6 pawn is revealed, then you know what happens? Yes, exactly that. You'll get sunburned. Therefore, b5 is better. Closing the position. There's plenty of ways to attack the c6 pawn. So bc, bc, queen c8, and this is one of those little ideas that makes humans better than computers. Computers think, hey, there's nothing wrong with the c6 pawn. The c6 pawn is amazing. You can't attack it. It's defended with so many pieces. What's wrong with this? Well, the problem is that here you can think in long terms. Sure, anyone who is a sub is welcome to have a game review. No, this time it's only for subs. So you have that c6 pawn weakness. How can you come close to that square? But we'll have a makeup killer stapler. So how can you attack this pawn right now? By a long string of maneuvering. That's knight e1, knight d3, and knight b4. And that actually is one of those deep ways of playing this chess. Yes, the computer says, yeah, it's all fine, nothing's going on. However, humans notice that there's a maneuver such as knight d1, knight d3, knight b4. And then the weakness is exposed. So in general, you'd think that, hey, this is fine. However, whenever you open up the position, there'll be a way to invade. Compare this to this position after b5. There is no way to get this knight to b4 and attack the c6 pawn. However, there is still a way to attack the c6 pawn. How can white attack c6 pawn? That will actually help you to find the right plan. Actually, two plans, but one of them is a little bit better than the other. Prepare for e4. Now, if you prepare for e4, jump in, Jackson, how does that help us undermine the c6 pawn? There's one thing to recall ideas of exchanging. However, you always have to keep the goal in mind. Our goal is to expose and put pressure on the c6 pawn. If you go here, you exchange rooks. How does it benefit you? German, thank you for the follow. Just recall what we've been talking before. And that's why chess is such a nice game, because once you realize and recognize those patterns, then you remember what to do. So in this position, you had this idea of knight e1, knight d3, knight b4, and that was the way to bother this rook and the pawn on c6. Now this position is different. It's much, much different than the previous one was. However, just because the pawn is on b5 and it's not exchanged with b takes c5, doesn't mean a similar plan wouldn't work for white. Namely, you have this move of knight d2. And that's not just a move. That's the beginning of a plan. Bishop d6 is an interesting idea. Very interesting idea. Play chess for life. But the problem is, they don't have to take. If they take, this actually makes a lot of sense because you do expose that c6 pawn. However, black can ignore you, and then that's an issue. We're gonna give this an interesting sign because it is a deserving move. However, black, unfortunately, can avoid us. But knight d2 is even better, played by white. What is the concept of knight d2? Yes, exactly. Correct, someday. Now the knight goes to a5 and attack the c6 pawn. And this is how you put those building blocks together. Here, you had this plan to get the knight to b4. There wasn't a pawn on b4. In this case, there is a pawn on b4. You can't get the knight to b4. However, this pawn acts as a charger pawn. And once your knight gets to a5, you're going to have a beautiful position. Knight b3. So black naturally tries to stop that. If white gets that knight to a5, there's going to be lots of pressure on black's position. So black is going to do everything in his means to avoid that. Knight b3, h6, rook a1. Now he goes for exchanges, and that is correct. Arzenix, hello there. Rook a1, trying to exchange. Takes, bishop c7. And here comes the big question. Obviously, black made some progress. Black is about to exchange off a terrible bishop, although he did lose the control of the a file. Question is, how should we react to bishop c7? So we might want the A file in the future. Yeah, we might want that. That would be very useful. True. But we do have to answer this question first. Should we take that bishop? Should we care that the bishop is there or not? Knight e2 to improve the knight. Okay. Why do you want to improve the knight? Or if it's saying take and queen a2. Okay, that's reasonable. Do we have to take it? So knight e2 is an interesting concept by Killer, Stapler, and Kasparov. Very, very good. However, the big question is, do we need to go that direction? Thank you for the follow. So again, knight e2 is very interesting. Thank you. Knight e2 is interesting. Takes knight f4 and you probably will maneuver your knight around. However, this is the traditional sign of interesting. However, you don't really have to bother this time. What is surprising? Whoa, Oref, thank you for subscribing to Twitch Prime. Appreciate it. Ignore it. Yep. So this time you can go knight b3. After bishop f4, e takes f4, you've got full control over that important e5 square. Kasparov just points it out correctly. Alternatively, our knight on a1 is pretty useless, so improve it. So there was one thing that we failed to notice, and that was Black's plan. And that's what happens early on in our chess career. We look for our own plans and ignore our opponents. And reality is, Black always wanted to play e5. When we played knight b3, we kind of said, hey, you can exchange the bishop. However, it'll cost you. Because now I get the e5 square and something else. What else do we get in return as well? Remember our old goal? What we've been looking for and hoping for? That wonderful outpost on a5. Yes, exactly. Get that juicy outpost on a5. And that's very important. Very, very important. Once you start a plan, you might as well finish it up. And that's very important. People always start their plans and they leave it off midway. No, you have to follow through. Chess is like mental boxing. If you can't follow through your motion, you're failing at the game of chess. So once you plan to get that knight on a5, the way you learn and the way you get better is to get that knight there. TBA Limit Listen here is saying, I always enjoy interactive analysis. What'd you do? So e5 is a very strong move by Black, and that kind of shows the strength of the opposition. Black is going for the break regardless. One way, my way. Thank you for the follow. Also, I did not say the names before. Or if thank you for following as CBCB333 as well. Thank you for the follow. So black was planning to break through with bishop e7, d8, and e5 apart, or maybe trying to exchange the bishop. So now you can see that both of these players are of the highest rank as they are trying to push on through, regardless what their opponent is doing. So we can ignore it again or take it. So let's ponder a little bit. Should we take or not take? What are the benefits of taking? And what's the benefit of not taking? Draw back to bishop h2, says someday. f5 is available. You mean queen f5? To take or not to take, that is the question. Shakespeare. Correct. Spenap, hello there. Sohom. Take it. Edgar Sinek, if we take it, we have to do it with the pawn, and we have to keep our bishop intact. Okay, so what is the benefit of taking? If we're trying to understand the position, we've got to realize the positional benefits, or benefits in general. It could be a tactical benefit. If we don't take, says Cosper, black gets a good control of the center. It's a good observation. Simple Simpson says we get the d4 square if we take. Freeze the d4 square. Jumpin' Jackson points out take it. Both opens up f5 for the queen. It's actually opened up anyways. If I move the bishop, it's still open. And d4 for the second knight to gang up on c6. You learned from a GM to take is a mistake, so you'll stick with it. And on our poll, take it 1. You guys rock. Yep, you should take. Why? Taking is amazing. Chat is on the roll. D takes e5 is a very strong move because you get that d4 square. Now, a few moves ago that is, in this position, you have this c6 target. However, once you get the knight on a5, you're not winning. Let's say bishop b8, knight a5, queen a6, and that pawn is still well defended. Let's take a look what happened. e5, d takes e5. Now you can go bishop h2, there's nothing wrong with that. But d takes e5 has an added benefit, meaning you can gang up on this c6 pawn. What would be the ideal formation against that pawn? Because this is a slow-moving game, you actually get to imagine and dream of the perfect setup. So Simple Simpson says, knight on d4. Okay. Simple Simpson says, I want a knight on a5, d4, and queen on f5. And you are certainly more than correcto. And eventually, you will be able to maneuver there because of the slow nature of the position at all. Hello, Randharma. Let's continue. Bishop takes e5. Bishop takes e5. In closed positions, and I would label this one as a closed position, you want to defend your knights and eliminate your bishops. So bishop e5 is a strong move. Retaining our knights. Knight takes e5, knight e2. And chess can be super simple. You just have to remember the concept you're looking for, and if you can execute it right, you will be winning. Also, if we get those knights there, what will the biggest problem for black? Yes, indeed, the c6 pawn. Those knights will get there, hit that pawn, and once you kick out this knight, there'll be no defenders left, and you are strategically winning. Seeing this, not wanting to see queen f5, black played g6. Knight d4, queen d7, queen a2. Now he gets the a file. Some of you have mentioned this earlier on. However, White felt that there's a priority to set up these threats. Queen a2, activating the queen. King g7. And now we have to stop and enjoy the position. What is queen d7? It is a move, and it's sort of passing. Knight d7 is possible too. King g7. So now we see this position. We achieved a lot. However, we still have one piece that is not ideally placed. Hidden. Hello there. So who's in control? And if you realize that, how can we improve on all of our pieces? Have to tank up with a bit of water. So our knight on d4 is amazing. That's good. But you have to go through a checklist whenever you're analyzing a position. You have an amazing knight on d4. Correct. What about this knight on b3? What about this queen on a2? Are they ideally placed? Knight a6. You mean knight a5? Because this knight can hardly get to this square. Edgar Sain is saying white is in control, definitely. The black knights will be kicked away soon, getting more control over the center, and we get the queen to a6. I see most of you want to attack this guy. Go queen a8 and go knight a5. However, there's one thing that you have to remember. This pawn is weak and orthodox. Has a good point. Even though it's not black's move, it's very important. Orthodox points out, so queen d7, that there's this b4 pawn weakness. there is a b4 pawn weakness. So we have to be careful there. Knight d3s can come around. It doesn't really work quite yet because there's check, here, takes, and then you lose this pawn and the game. However, king g7, and if you overextend yourself, there'll be problems. But king g7 was a little bit inaccurate. It runs into a certain problem. Can anybody spot what could be the problem in this position? Panda TTC, thank you for the follow. The diagonal. Okay, how can you use the diagonal? It's queen a1. And this is a very, very nice move by Gimeshi. Why? Because not only do you control these important squares, attack that, but eventually there could be some discoveries going on. Not saying that other moves can't be strong. However, this is the most thematic. Queen e8, knight a5, putting pressure. And can we say that all of our pieces are well placed? What do you think, chat? Are we happy? Are we satisfied? Yeah, we're super satisfied. What will be our next move? Hey, Pilla Porca. F4. And I saw some of you mention knight b7, knight d6. That's not bad. You're trying to improve your pieces. However, the main goal of this position is to win the c6 pawn. Once that pawn falls, it's game over. There's nothing you can do, and it's game. So the big plan, the future plan, is to go f4, and then you win this pawn. You can go king f1, king e2, but f4 is starting to become a real threat. King h7. And now it's time for us to decide what to do. The critical position. So I see some options. So I see knight b5 mentioned, taking on c6. Alright, so I see ideas such as queen c3, takes here, takes there. See? Many options. Even when you have a good position, you have plenty of options to choose from. Fact. Hey, Harsh the boss. And we also have f4 as an option. We've got plenty of options here. Now we have to decide which way to go. When our opponent played king h7, what has changed? Something dramatically changed from the previous position. I meant knight d takes and knight a takes. Knight f on f6 is not covered. Well spotted, Orphanox. These are the four options we have. Take there, take this way, queen c3, f4. Not taking b5, obviously. Here, 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 f4. So any type of sacrifices would undermine this knight on f6. Question is if that sacrifice actually works. Now, the end point is that f6 could be captured by the queen. Because the king moved away and it does not defend it. Like a move ago, it was defended. So here, this was defended. King h7, and it is no longer protected by the king. f4 winning. However, f4, you do weaken that e pawn, and you do provide some counterplay. In chess, you got to be flexible with your thoughts. Very, very flexible. It's like to move and win. The question only is if you want to take with the A knight or the D knight. Knight D takes. Boom. The big difference is if you go this way, knight takes c6, takes, queen takes c6, and the knight is defended. You can capture, but the queen will capture back. So that's not good. I didn't do that. Well, so takes, knight d takes is correct. Knight d takes c6, and now the queen will be able to take. So takes, queen takes f6. So knight d takes c6, the precise way. The precise way to continue. Now the f6 knight is loose, and you are just going to capture it. So takes, queen f6, and it's basically game over. Knight takes a5, b takes a5, and in fact, in these endgames, it is not the quantity but the quality of pawns that matter. This pawn is just much faster than the b pawn. It's already on the 5th. And that is due to the proper opening. Why not f4? f4 didn't quite work because of knight d3, and then you would have problem on that e3 square. If takes, then there's queen takes e3 check, and then you give counterplay for black. However, knight d takes Knight takes, queen f6. You are just up a healthy pawn and ready to win. Takes, knight a5, b4, c6. And now white actually benefits from the fact that this pawn was already in black's camp, and it is much closer to promote than the b pawn. b3, c7, and here black resigned because there is no way of stopping queen c3 queening. And there is going to be a second pawn running down the board. That's kind of the reason black just resigned. Also, if queen c8, there is queen d8, forcing this queen off the board, and that just claims the win. It's interesting as always. Thanks for the great analysis, Master Boros. You're welcome. I hope you enjoy it. So I have one more, then we jump into this session. So one of you in chat asked me, can you attack on both flanks? Stay tuned and I'll show you how. So, game 2. Same opening. Black has a little less space, however, is up the development. Same structure, same structure. Should be 7, knight h5. Remember we talked about h3 earlier? That's why white played h3, so there's no knight h5, because there's bishop h2. However, in this game, knight h5 was played, and the bishop is a goner. Queen c2. Simple Simpson is saying that is called Klitschko chess because you hit them from left and right. Yeah, so probably then Alekhine was part of the Klitschko dynasty. Thank you, Spanab. Queen c2, takes, g6. So we have to stop and observe here. Let's stop here for a second and observe. What's the difference between this position and the position that we saw 10 minutes ago, roughly 10 minutes ago? How many fronts we have in this position? 2. We have 2 fronts. We have dynamic play on the queen side. We actually have more space there. But there's also the other side of the board, meaning the king side. So here, Vescovi is going to combine those two. Rook b1. First off, he's trying to put pressure on this side of the board and maybe planning to open it up if he can. c7, g3, just defending that pawn. Alpha Chess, thank you for the follow. Rook b8, h4. h4 is a strong move. Can anybody guess why Vescovi played h4? Play h5. And what is the idea after h5? Because I understand it's very logical, you want to start pushing the h pawn. But there's like a deeper idea behind it. So let's say you manage to play h5. What do you do afterwards? Free th file, yes. So okay, let's say I play b5. h5, queen d8. Could even consider, king g2, rook h1, and you can double up. Exactly. That is a possibility. However, you might even consider sacrificing. King takes, and have to go king f8, because king h8 is, again, almost lost. So you even have these tactical solutions awaiting to be played in these type of positions. Yeah, it is definitely weakening Black's structure. Hello, Kutuzov. So goes a5, a3. And this is how you play on both sides of the board. You are keeping the tension on the queen side. You don't abandon it and go ham on the king side. You're making sure you still have this strong c5 pawn that kind of blockades black pieces. So he's on one side reducing Black's maneuvering capabilities and then set up some attacks on the other side. Playing on both flanks. Bishop a6, king g2, preparing to join the attack and play h5. Bishop d3, rook a7, rook e1. Why did White play rook e1? That on a first blink might seem mysterious, but remember the previous game? Do we like having exchanges as White in these type of positions? We want to, we go rook e1. First off, there's an open file, and rooks love open files. So now, since Black played rook a7, preparing to exchange off our rooks, White decides to go rook e1, which is a strong move, putting the rook on the file, putting some pressure on Black's king side, also planning to sidestep trades afterwards. e1. He actually took, which is surprising. I kind of expected rook b1, which probably is a little stronger. As we talked about it, you want more pieces on the board. We do avoid exchanges, correct, chat? Takes, queen c2. Black wants to get in and be active, so Vescovi makes sure that all of these pawns are guarded. You especially have to be careful with the b pawn, because it's easily attacked by the queen. However, if we go queen a3, there's rook b1, and that pawn is defended, and these pawns become loose once the queen leaves. So b takes c5. How should we capture back? How should we capture that c5 pawn? B takes c5, of course. You want that target. If you take with the d pawn, this pawn will become annoying. So bc, queen a6, rook b1, knight e2. Over defending the only weakness. Rook a7, knight c1. Here comes the big maneuver. It's going for knight e5. Knight d3, h5. So this time, white is combining threats against the c6 pawn with the idea of attacking on the other side. Remember this maneuver of h4, h5? Well, you should, because it was famously part of this lecture. The Larsen pawn. Which is over here. I don't find it. In any case, this is famous for this idea of pushing up to h6 and creating mating nets, as you will see. Queen a8, trying to invade. Queen c1, sidestepping it. Rook a2. And now we'll need to find the correct move. Now, if you would play h6, which seems reasonable, then king would take, and the king has enough time to run away. We have to make sure h6 works without being taken. It's white to move and get the initiative. So remember, you're trying to combine the attack on both flanks. What can you attack on the other side of the board while also helping out the attack on the king side? f5 is a possibility. And limitless is correct. Knight e5. One of those beautiful knights do land there. Why is this so strong? Because 1, it attacks this knight. 2, it attacks the c6 pawn. And once you exchange on e5, I will have this idea of playing h6. So sometimes simple moves are even better than sacrificing. Not that f5 is unreasonable. However, there's no need to go this direction, even though this one's interesting as well. Knight e5, knight e5, fe. Notice that this h6 idea is coming up. Queen f4. And this is again one of the signs of a grandmaster. When he plays queen f4, could he play h6 immediately? Yes, that is true. However, queen f4 moves is the move that says, hey, I have h6. If you want to take on h5, knock yourself out, brother, because I can go rook h1, take, and have a mating attack. So he's actually keeping this h6 move there in his opponent's back of his mind. So he's keeping the tension. Yes, Liard, he's keeping the tension. And the stronger you get, the more you keep the tension. Rook a1. And here comes a brilliant move by Vescovi. So it's white to move and win. Or at least it is very gorgeous. I feel it is just appropriate to show it. Yep. Knight g5. If rook takes b1, then there's queen f7 check. You go here, it's checkmate. Can't go anywhere. You go here, check, check, and even though you're up a rook and a bishop, you are just lost. Yep. So that's what I was saying. Queen f4 is a much more flexible move. Knight g5. So black is sort of overloaded. You can't really go queen a7 now because I take the rook. Takes and exactly the same mate. So that is one of the beauty of this move. It overloads black's defenses. Bishop takes g5, rook a1. And this is very nice. You can't take my queen, because if you do, you will be down a rook or a bishop, which is advantageous for white. So takes, queen g5. And suddenly, there's a big problem here. Because of the positional advantages, thank you Zest of Life for the follow. That c6 pawn is a weakness. This is a potential passer. There's another problem that was lurking. That is this h pawn. Once I push h6, you get a back rank and you might be just checkmated. And as you might know, if you have two weaknesses in your opponent's camp, you are very close to win the game. Let's continue. Queen a8, h6 check, very important. King g8, now we have to set up the checkmate. Goes g4 first, however, queen f6 probably was good as well. Queen f8, king g3. And oftentimes we look for solutions for ourselves. However, I would ask the question, do you really have a move here as black? The answer is, no you don't. Black is in a tsutswang. Black cannot make a good move. Fisher, thank you for the follow. A move ago, if I go here, you have queen takes h6 and maybe the queen can lurk around the king. Here or h4. However, after king g3, this queen and king was ideally placed, but now it is their move. So they will be struggling. If you go king h8, I always have this queen f6 check. If you move the queen away, I have queen f6 hitting there. So queen e8 was played. Queen f6, that is the checkmate we're talking about. And if queen f8, what is the big solution? Why is king g3 necessary? Well, it's not necessary, but probably the best. This is completely a tsutswang, right? Because black does not have a good move, so Vescovi decides just to make a passing move. Here, here, here. g5 and gg, exactly. Here comes g5 with gg. g5 and gg, indeed. You can't make a good move anymore. You're just going to get mated on g7 or lose your queen. Now, black decided to go king f8, but after that he just lost the pawn and resigned because pawn will promote. However, for beauty's sake, I would still show this one, as this is just very, very nice. g5 and gg. You are from Brazil. You have met those players. Awesome. And there are no stalemating tricks, exactly. So that is what I wanted to show, just the way to analyze games. That is quite a tsutswang, yeah. I really like this game by white. Alright, let's get into game reviews. First off, let's start with Edgar Saint's game. It's black, so let's take a look. So this time I am looking at games. Looking at games by the subs. Hello there, Edgar Saint. Alright, so if you're a newlywed sub, think about this. If you had any thoughts at any moment of the game, let me know, because that's the way we learn. D4, knight f6, c4, standard stuff. It's all very standard. c5. I assume the banker, but very daring. Daring play. Good. Good. Like daring play. So, c5, and white decides to avoid that. Does not play d5, avoids the banco, or avoids the Benoni. Which one's better? Probably objectively, the Benoni is a little better. However, the banco is sound as well. Knight f3, c takes, knight takes, g6. Now g6 is a reasonable move. However, white made a concession with knight takes d4. There's a way to get some advantage with black. Not really an advantage, but definitely an aggressive play. And that is e5. And if knight f3, knight c6. And if knight c3, bishop b4. And soon enough, you're going to break in the center with d5. And even if not, you just have very, very good play with white. Because, I mean, with black, that is. Excuse me. So there's 1, 2, 3 pieces developed, and you're just a move away from castling. e5, correct, dritti. So here, e5 is a strong move. This idea of d5. That is something that you might want to remember, Edgar Saint, for next time. Now, g6 is nothing wrong with that. Going for more dragon, Marozzi positions. Bishop g5, and bishop g5 is a little bit suspicious because you are supposed to get your knights out first and bishops later. Realizing that this move is a little bit inaccurate, actually, or you're realizing it now as I'm telling you, Edgar Saint. What would you do? Also, chat, feel free to chime on in if you have an idea how to combat this move, bishop g5. Knight c3 is always better. Yes, dritti. Okay, queen a5 check is an alternative. Yeah, what else? What else can black do? So Edgar Saint, in general, when I'm analyzing games, I'm trying to find the best move. I understand it was a blitz game. However, now you've got the opportunity to find an even stronger move. Bishop g7 is a normal move and is something I would never ask Greta. It is just normal to play bishop g7. Again, don't get me wrong, bishop g7 is a decent move. So with bishop g5, the usual problem is that in knight c3, bishop g7, bishop g5, no longer are there any tricks on white's position. However, when the knight is not on c3, white is vulnerable to checks and attacks. So Edgar Saint, any ideas? Queen to b6, okay. Queen b6 is a very nice idea. You're trying to pinpoint that there's a problem on b2. Yeah, that is a good move. Hello, Hassan. The other move is knight e4. And knight e4 is a typical idea that is well worth remembering. Why? Because there's no knight on c3 which could block this. So this is not possible in this scenario. That square is blocked by the knight. Also, there's no checks. So whenever you get the chance to play knight e4 and hit that bishop on g5 with a tempo, do it. It's known that with this you get a good advantage. Why? Because if black will face bishop f4, you would even have a win on the spot. Black to move and win. This one's a beautiful one. So for a future reference, if your opponent doesn't have the knight on c3 and you can attack that bishop on g5 with a tempo, do it with knight e4. Funny, says Edgar Sain, because I usually play knight e4 against the Trompovsky. See, you have it. You have it in you. You just need to follow through with that. So it's black to move and win here. And I'm showing this to you because you can win many, many easy games by knowing this motif. Yep, e5. Also, just a side note for everybody, please relax with the caps locks. That's not a good way to go. e5, yes. Arch the Boss was the first pointing it out, but I'm happy to see the chat flooded by this move of e5. Because if takes, queen a5 check, and there's no way you can stop me from taking that bishop. So this is one of those tricks that you want to remember. e5 is a very strong way of playing. However, this only works when there's a knight on d4. That's very important. An important tactic spotted first by Arch the Boss. Note that this only works when there is a knight on d4. Just to give you a different example, let's say, I don't even know if I have a good enough example. Main point being, if that bishop ever gets to go back to c3, you are in big trouble. You could just move the bishop, yes. Yeah, Curly Tall Guy shows another one, and that's a good one. I'm gonna pinpoint as well. This is the other one. Curly Tall Guy is pinpointing, and that's e5 here. Same old concept because of the unfortunate placement of that knight. Bishop takes e5, queen a5 check, and the bishop can't go back. It can't hop through that knight. Good catch. So back to the game. Bishop g5, bishop g7, and there's nothing wrong with this move. However, next time, I advise you to find that knight e4 move. Hello, Firestorm Chess. Knight c3, knight c6, very good. Takes, queen d2, castle. Always castle. Development is super important. Bishop h6, and you played bishop a6. However, there are many options. And there's a stronger move here. Let's try to find a stronger move. What should we play here? e5. What is your point with e5, Firestorm Chess? Also, it's not cheating if you recall the basic principles of chess. According to the basic principles of chess, what are you supposed to do in these type of positions? Black also achieved a lot. Edgar Saint did do really well by castling. So castling, check. What else? No threat for black, so I'm improving your position. But what do you mean by improving the position? So I see a dead heat between d5 and queen a5, which is reasonable. However, if you just follow the principles of chess and your opponent is playing on the flank, then you should strike in the middle, d5. And they attack you on the flank, you strike in the middle / center. That's very important. This is one of those principles that can actually net you some games. Because you don't have to think about it, you just know that if I counterbalance the attack in the middle, probably I shall succeed. Bishop a6 is fine. However, your bishop can be sidelined as it's hitting upon. If white goes, let's say e4, for example, or let's say takes e4, this bishop is often just staring at a wall. You don't want that. Therefore, normally you want this bishop on f5 or e6, where it is more active. I would even give you some brownie points for rook b8. Can anybody tell me why rook b8 deserves some brownie points? I'll be back in a split second. putting the rook on the open file. That's what matters most. So remembering games is important, Lyard. 1980. That's very important to remember games like that. However, chess principles should be the one that guide you. Whenever you play rook b8, you make sure you get your rook on the open file, and then again you can strike in the center. Now if there were nothing spectacular going on, obviously you could go d6, bishop e6, and all the usual. Attacking, get the rook on b8, play queen a5, castle, rook b8. You have a very nice little position. Are you familiar with this type of plan, Edgar Saint? Thank you for the follow, SLW. With this plan of rook b8, queen a5. Let's go back. Bishop a6 was played. Takes, takes. And here, white makes a terrible mistake. b3 is bad. Why? Because you must play e4. You must stop black from playing d5. Once black plays d5, you have a perfect position. Does chess principles vary based on ratings? No. Chess principles are universal. Do you play the dragon by any chance, Edgar Saint? Edgar Saint is, to be honest, this game was played when the Benoni was an experiment for me. I did know some theory, but I was only familiar with the modern Benoni. How can we gather all chess principles in one package? So you just have to get a chess book on chess principles. That's it. That is one package, or so we call it, a book. So here, takes, takes. In general, we get a Sicilian type of position where white must stop the break of d5. If d5 happens, black is more than happy. You never really played the dragon. Okay, so I'm going to show you one of the basic ways about the dragon. So let's say they don't take on c6. Let's say e3, castle. Okay, this is a big difference. Usually the pawn is on e4, but that really doesn't matter to us at the moment. So bishop d7. If the knight is gone, you do consider getting that bishop to e6 because you put pressure on this pawn and you prepare d5. However, if there's a knight there, you don't want to put it there. You want to preserve your bishop. Bishop d7, queen d2, and you can play it this way with queen a5, rook d1, and rook c8 and rook e8. Sometimes they do play rook e8. So if there's knight d5, queen takes d2, there's no knight e7 check. I'm going to show you why that happens. So if you go rook c8, knight takes, bishop takes, knight d5. If you take on d2, there's this intermediate check on e7, hitting the bishop, the rook. Rook takes d2, and you're losing lots of pawns and the game. So oftentimes they play rook e8 and then rook c8, and this is a typical way of playing the position with white. Oh, I forgot about that bishop. My bad. So queen a5, obviously you protect this bishop. Rook e8, rook d1, rook c8, rook c1, knight e5, and then you put pressure on the c pawn. You're trying to undermine it. e5 is never an option. And I have to emphasize that. e5 is never an option in the dragon. And I'm not trying to pinpoint it because of you. It's very important. e5 is never an option in the dragon. And you've got to remember that one. That's very important. Why? Because if you play e5, you close in your bishop, your only big hope. And once you close in that bishop, you're done for. It's KO. Positionally, you are just lost. That's not good. Anyways, that's what I wanted to show, that you go queen a5, rook e8, rook c8, and this is a typical way of playing the dragon. It's relatively easy. d5 is the main goal, but it's hard to achieve. Anyways, back to the game. Takes, bishop a6. So here I would prefer d5, because the bishop is better on this diag than on the side. Takes, d5 was very strong. C takes, g3, d4 was very good. You want to gain as much space as possible. Knight e4 is good. Hitting the queen, and the king is in the middle. And that's a big problem. c2, check. Knight f2, rook c8. So all in all, a well-played game. But you don't want to put your bishop on the rim. You want to be closer to the middle with every move you make. But still, a nice game. GG's, Edgar Saint. All right, so let's take a look at Crusoe's game versus me. I was black, but you might not expect it. It was very good. Edgar Saint is saying, everything noted. Thank you for the review. Great work as always. Yeah, also, here's the link for the studies, which you can find over here. So you can just check it out. So d4, knight f6, knight c3, d5, bishop f4. Hooray! It's the rapport Jabava. It's the rapport Jabava system. a6. So there is a fine little trick here. Black goes here, e3, and anytime black would play knight c6, black is losing. Can anybody tell me how black is losing here? White to move and win. And it's surprising, it's shocking. The first time I saw this, I didn't believe my eyes. But in fact, it's true. It just ends the game on the spot. Yeah, knight b5. Problem is, for black, you have no way of stopping knight c7 fork. And even if you check, white just covers and the knight c7 is just winning. If you push the pawn, I can capture and you lose all of your pawns. Note that you can never take that knight because the bishop is defending it. So a6 is a move to stop that. e3, bishop f5, knight f3. I like this play by Crusoe. The knight is heading towards that all-critical e5 square. Can anybody tell me why is it so good to have a knight on e5? No pawn can kick it out, that's true. That's one thing. It also prepares an exciting concept. No, the knight is not a bishop. Got to get some extra water. That's healthy. Why is it good to have it there? Because as Ash Brown points out, it prepares an idea. e6, knight e5, bishop b4. So the point of having that knight in the center is the following. It controls a center square, and it also prepares g4 and h4. Now, if black would play bishop e7, white would be immediately winning. Because there's this move of g4. Normally not a good move, but white will castle long, so it doesn't really matter that he's making moves on the other side. Looking at some amazing viewer games, Eddie Buzz. To g4, what if black goes bishop g6? We kind of get the same situation if black goes bishop e4. White can just go f3, hit the bishop, and back. So it'll be basically the same thing. To move and get an edge. So this is the game between me, Crusoe, facing black. Black was me. Here, there's a very, very nice move that can use the fact that this bishop is under heavy fire by this knight. h4, correct. The plan is h5. Let's say knight d7, h5. And believe it or not, the bishop is trapped. If you go bishop e4, there's f3, and there is no escape square for this guy on e4. Also note that this is defended by the queen, therefore bishop is captured. The only move is h5, but then knight takes g6, f takes g6, g5, and this is a very ruinous position. Because after bishop d3, that pawn and this pawn will be extremely weak, and king f7 runs into queen f3 with decisive threats. So that is kind of the main point of this knight e5 maneuver. So, seeing that, I played bishop b4, trying to pin it. a3. Now, a3 is a reasonable idea. However, if again we base our thoughts on chess principles, white already has a control over the center. He has a strong knight on e5, a pawn, a charger pawn supporting it, a solid center. What is the next step that you need to take once you got your center? Playing on the flanks, castling, getting more space. Which one is it? So far, white is doing fine. That is Crusoe. Thank you for the follow, Sami. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the follow. So far, you have the idea of getting more space or castling. The legendary Arion, thank you for the follow. So should we castle? Should we get more space? Should we play on the flanks? And as I see, the poll said, castling, we should castle. And I agree. Now, a3 does get rid of this bishop. However, development is one of the most important part of chess. And after knight e4, there would be some certain drama on this knight on c3. But again, comes the big question. How can we deal with it? Again, never forget chess principles, and then you'll know what to do. Remember what I said earlier. If you have a game plan, what are you supposed to do? Follow through. Castles, yes. And this is a very strong move. Well, just to be consequent, I'm gonna make this a brilliant move. It's probably not a Kasparov-Topalov kind of strong, but if you kind of like a move that has a purpose, and this one has a higher purpose, this is very strong. Why? Because black is wasting time. He does get the pawn. However, in exchange, white already has achieved castling, and there are many weaknesses, and this bishop is kind of loose as well. You've got to defend that pawn. If you don't, white just takes and has a better position. He has a very nice knight, a safe king. There's nothing really to complain about here. And if black plays b5, there's a way to take advantage. Let's try to take advantage of this move. white to move and crush it. If you find a move that wins some material, that will be good enough. Oftentimes, that's the best thing you can do. It's not every single time that there's a mating attack. Some cases, you just don't have that. Notice one thing. King of blacks is still in the middle of the board, which never bodes well. It's a bad thing. White to move, Adibas. White to move. So whenever you hear some plans and ideas from like the top of the poll, like super grandmasters, they say smart stuff for their level. But for you, it is much more beneficial to follow chess principles than to break them. Don't forget, we talked about this bishop being loose. Maybe we'll have a chance to use that. Yep, AGV finds it. AGW, that is. In d3. And not only do we attack that bishop, but the f5 pawn. Now, at this moment, black is not lost, but who has more central control? White does. There's 2 pawns in the center for white, 1 for black, and this knight is much stronger than these guys still in the garage. Also note, the knight can't go to c6 nor to d7 because the queen and knight protects those squares. So on a higher level, this is a dominating position for white. Leading to a dominating position. Queen d3 is a very strong move. Again, props AJW75. So bishop d3 would have been better than castles. And you can't really go wrong with these kind of things. If you follow the principles of getting the center and castling, that can rarely backfire. Yeah, Quinn has a good point. Black Knight is in jail. Black Knight is in jail. And Rook is useless and slow. Correct. Back to the game. So a3 is not a bad move per se. However, bishop d3 castles is much stronger. Bishop takes, b takes, h6. Again, if I go c6, then I would run into this trick of g4, h4, and the bishop is trapped. Anytime you go bishop e4, there's f3. The bishop will be trapped by the pawns. And you can never take on c2 because the queen is defending it. So I decided to play h6 just to create a little luft for my bishop. f3, knight d7, g4. Now, this plan of f3 is good. Crusoe is playing this part of the game very well. So I'm going to even give this next clam. f3 is good. He is preparing to rush with those pawns. Knight d7, g4, bishop d3. c5, bishop takes h7. And here I made a mistake. Rook h7 was a bad move. Can anybody tell me why and what is wrong with rook takes h7? From the perspective of black. And for that moment, I'm gonna rotate the board just for a split second so you can get into the shoes of black. It'll take a long time for the rook to get back in the game. Yes, curly tall guy. King can't castle. Yes, Induviel. Very good. You lost castling rights. Yep, and yep. So, if rook takes h7 is not good, should have considered taking with the knight. This would have been much better. Much better, as I would have the chance to castle short in the future. Rook h7 was wrong for that reason. Rook h7, oh. It moved. Bishop d3 takes, rook takes h7, and c4 I like. However, do we remember the principles that we're actually not following just yet? Deal broke 2000 rapid. Congrats. So what is the first thing you need to do, people? Don't disappoint me like that. Don't disappoint me like that. Okay, so first question. Is this an open position or a closed position? There's no such thing as semi, hash brown. Worth a try. That's true. That is true. If the position is closed, is it easy to get close to the king? It's closed, says Quinn. There isn't open files or diagonals. Or aren't any, yeah. And that is correct. This is a closed position. So castling is in fact a good idea. Why? Yes, you don't want to castle into a weakened structure. However, because there's no entry square for the rook or the queen, you really are not risking a lot. If they would play h5, you can just go g5, keep the position close. Obviously, you don't take there, which deserves the beloved double question mark. Because after that, you have a good point Induviel. If the position opens up, it's very risky to castle short in this position. However, if you keep it closed, this is fine, and white is actually much, much better. And white is better. Oh, not 50 T's, just one extra. King f2 is also an option. You are correct. King f2 is also an option. However, castling does bring the king to safety. So I think castling would have been stronger. And this will be a recurring problem, by the way. So c4, which is a fine move. Crusoe is trying to undermine my center. So that's fine. King f8, just trying to hide my king. Rook b1. Rook b1's a strong move. Why? Because it follows chess principles. Tactics man, thank you for the follow. Rook b1, it presses on that pawn. And it puts the rook on an open file. b6. And now Crusoe makes a mistake. So you've got to decide which way you want to play. But first and foremost, you've got to be sure that your king is safe. Well, it looks safe for the moment in Duviel, but eventually you might want to move it to a different place. So again, castling, king f1. Castling would have been a much stronger move. And with my pieces discoordinated and this rook knight having, well, good and well positioned situations, this is just pleasant for white. So h4 was played. D takes c4. And that was a good move by me. Here, I really needed to go for counterplay where the king is at. So I vacate this d5 square for my knight and then come on in. Knight takes c4, knight d5, bishop d6 check, king g8. And suddenly the situation shifts. Why? Because I have some threats on this king, even have threats of kicking out this knight. My king is safe, unlike this king in the middle. Also note, because of h4, castling never works because of queen takes h4, and you are going to face some mating attacks on this side of the board. And I do have a knight outpost on d5. Now king f2 is played, however, this does run into this fork. And after that, is just collapsing. Takes b5, c4, queen h4, and etc. and etc. Black eventually won because of the extra material. It does not really require much commentary, and rook h1 is checkmating. So this is one of those reasons why this is pretty good. So what we learned from this game is the following. You should castle eventually. Otherwise, your king might get under heavy fire, as we've seen in the game, with dc takes knight d5, and then suddenly the king will have no hiding places. And also, second note, you don't really want to attack those guys. These guys, g4 and h4. All right, so in general, I think this was well played, Crusoe. But again, in the future, you should castle and then continue with your play in the center. Or decide that you're just going to attack on the king side, which is fine, but then you have to go that direction and maybe consider castling long in that case. Not here. Here I understand if you want to play in the middle, you go c4 and castle. So last but not least, here's the game between Kasper Vlad and Guven Chagli. Kasper is playing white. This is the last game review, and after this one, we're going to have a short session of sub challenges. All right. So d4 is played, b6, bishop f4, e3, and knight c3. Hooray! Another rapport Jabava. Hooray, hooray. Bishop b4, queen d2, which is again not necessary. If you remember, there's always castling going on. And then this bishop is actually a little bit strange over there. You don't have to worry about this doubling right now, because you can gain some central controls with getting this pawn on c4. Also prepare rook e1 and e4. Explaining closed positions. So closed positions like this means that everybody has to go for a long-term plan. Stragility. Thank you for following. So there are no open files. Maybe this one's a better example. No open files for the rooks. And that's why we call it closed. Once there's some open files, it's starting to look more like an open position. However, in these closed positions, oftentimes it's strategy that wins and not direct tactics. It's not like a Kasparov and Topalov kind of aggressive game. Bishop b4, queen d2, a3, bishop e7. And here I think Kasper made a little slip. Can you spot the correct move? Sure thing, Isandor. Glad I could help. So there's an order of chess principles. What is number 1 on the chess principle list? Center. You want the center. Second one is to develop. But first off, you want to get as many guys in the middle as possible. Yep. Now that's one thing that we know. What is the principle we're looking after? But we still need to find the right move. e4, yes. If your opponent gives you the chance to gain space, do it. Gaining space. And white is just much better. After d5, e5, black is going to struggle with a terrible bishop on b7. So you can play hyper-modern chess. There's nothing wrong with being hyper-modern, However, you are objectively worse. So black can go d6. Yes, black is not lost. However, who has more space? Definitely white. And he has much, much stronger pieces than black does. So e4 is by far the best move in this position. But Kasper went for the exciting move of long castling. Now long castling is double-edged. It's double-edged because you immediately show your intentions. A double-edged move. It can be very good, but it can be very bad as well. And that's why I would play e4 instead, just to take control of the center, and here, then now, long castles, and that's a different situation, or short, whichever way you want to play. You want to play solid, castle short. If you want to play sharp, castle long. Long castles, d5. Strong move, gaining space, and now that kind of evens out the pawns in the middle. Knight e5. Good play by Kasper Vlad, getting that knight there. What is knight e5 preparing? Now the point is to rush the castle with g4, h4, g5. And in a sense, I really like Kasper's play this whole game, as you shall see, because he goes for a concept and he follows through. Exactly. Pawn storm the king side. Knight c6. And here, actually, he could have taken on c6, which would have been stronger. Bishop takes c6. And in that case, this bishop is awkward on that square, stopping the c5 move. The reason I'm not that confident that long castling was good right now, probably waiting with that and attacking earlier is better. Because now black could go c5, and if g4, c4, and go b5, b4. And with this king already committed to c1, there's often big attacks involving these pawn storms with b5 and b4. That's why I said e4 is better there. Anyways, knight c6 was played. h3, preparing g4. Knight d7, and again, taking would have been better. g4, h4, and g5, and white has a good attack. So far, a very, very nice game by Kasper. g4. And g4 is a mistake because it allows an exchange that's favorable for black. Namely, knight takes e5, d takes e5, and c5. Usually you want to capture with the bishop, unless the king is on g8, when d takes does make some sense. However, taking with the bishop is not possible, because it will ruin the structure and runs into d4 tricks, opening up the bishop and hitting the knight. So knight takes e5 would have been the best try, refuting sort of this slow h3 g4 plan. But here, Chagli misses that, plays bishop f6, but knight takes c6, which Kasper could have tried earlier on, is played and gets the big advantage. Now everything is going to work like clockwork. Takes h4, very good. Just starting to storm the position of blacks. If bishop h4, there's this nice little sacrifice on c7, because this queen is overloaded. Can't really defend both. You take there, rook h4, and after rook g1, g5, this can become very annoying for black. This is advantage white. So bishop e7 is played, g5. So one of the basic rules of opposite colored chess is to go and start storming your opponent with these pawns and make sure that your opponent's king is mated first before yours getting mated. H takes, takes, knight f8, queen e2, queen d7. And here I think he makes a mistake. And white has a much better move that was played. Can anybody spot the next move for white? Rook h8 obviously was played before in the game, so I wouldn't be asking that. No? Sometimes chess is simple. Just letting you know. Chess can be very simple. Not always is simple, but can be. Bishop a6, yep. Take the pawn. Greed, take the pawn. Bishop a6. This is a little risky, so I don't blame white not to play this way because it does open up some ideas, but objectively it's defended and there's always bishop b5 exchanging off the bishop, so white just gets a good position. Yes, but sometimes if you can win a pawn, you should win a pawn, Anonymous. Rook h8 is fine as well. Probably g6 is good too. Trying to ram through these pawns. Rook h8 is nice. Bishop b7. Good play by black. Spotting that was hanging. Queen h5. Stopping this castles because there's queen takes f7. And white is just up a pawn for nothing. g6. Bishop takes g6. Very nice. The king is still in the middle, so it makes sense to try to undermine it. If f takes, queen takes check, can't capture because the king would be in check. If the queen f7, this pawn would start running down the board with g6, g7, and queens, leading to beautiful, beautiful positions. So understandably, black didn't want any of that, but after that, it's 2 pawns down. b5, g6, that pawn is running. Takes, rook takes, and now it's up a piece. Takes. Whenever you get a good position, make sure most of your pieces are defended. Because if you don't lose them, you will just have brilliant position. Queen e6, taking all of those pawns. Going full Pac-Man on black. Queen b6. This is a typical move you don't want to make. Why? Because you're already winning. There's no reason for you to go nuts and try to overpress. Yes, it works because the king is pinned, so there's no taking. But with white being up, plenty of pawns. There's no reason to risk miscalculation. King b6, takes, king a8, queen c7, and black resigned for a good reason because he is down plenty of pieces and pawns. So very well played by Kasper. However, long castling was very, very, very dangerous and double-edged. However, the rest of the game was conducted beautifully. Apart from a misses here and there, trying to take a free pawn, this was very well done by Kasper. Well done by white. Very well done. Also, if you guys are interested in this link, do check it out. So, now I am going to open up for challenges, and probably will do challenges for, you know, maybe 20, 30 more minutes. So challenges are welcome, people. This was the game review for subs section. And then we're coming back. Challenges. All right, I'll be back in a split second. And get yourself ready. Ugvar. Good luck. Good luck. There. Let's go d5. Play some good old Portuguese. Pressing on that square. There, knight d5. Here's c6. They're gonna go g6, go bishop g7, put my king into safety. Okay, bishop g4. Again, I'm trying to put pressure there, which is very, very much important. Also, please note, normally I'd prefer 3-0 so we have more people can see and can play. Okay, bishop d2, let's take there. Takes, knight d7 is not a good idea, so let's castle. Again, see what I'm doing. Trying to put my pieces to safe squares. d4, gonna break in the center, trying to undermine it. This is kind of more like in the spirit of Bruce Lee. You are going with the flow. You're trying to undermine your opponent's play. Go e4. Knight h2, let's take that and take that pawn. And because of that knight being slightly misplaced, I have some hope of an advantage. f3. Okay, let's just bring the rook in the game. Note that I'm keeping the tension, not releasing it. It's very, very important. X takes e4. Queen f2. All right, let's take it. I'm up a pawn, so exchanging is not bad. Also, I have a juicy spot on d5 and c4. I'm going to use both of them. I might even go there. Let's go rook e8. Get the open file. Knight f3, knight c4, hitting this bishop, getting a good spot for my knight. I'll take. Knight g5 makes sense, trying to attack me. I'll go back, defend the pawn, which provides me some ample chances. Notice that I have good control over the white squares, and white has nothing to compensate for that. This check is very annoying. There, let's take. Bishop h6, pinning this. So the knight cannot really jump around too much. King e1, but now f6, and the bishop is going to be lost once this knight moves. There, knight e4, let's take here. Takes king g7. With an extra piece, I am going to start pushing that extra pawn on the king side. There, let's start rolling with the pawn. You still have to play for your advantages. There, okay, h4. There, let's go. Oh, I'm just gonna check first. I have all those squares under control. Let's bring the king up. Once I eliminate that pawn, I will have a beautiful position. There. King here, just bring the king up. There, king f5. Slowly moving forward. There, okay. Knight c4, taking away these jumps. And a good position there. Sol Flores, thank you for the follow. Let's push. Just going slowly with the plan. g4. Bishop e3, taking away some important squares. Go h3, takes, and the pawn is running down the board. King g4, king is coming to g2. And it is just crashing through. Highly curious case. Thank you for the follow. And now h2 would have won. Sol Flores, good luck. d4. Been looking at this. Again, we're gonna try that one. Okay, then we have this Dutch. Bishop g5, trying to put pressure on that knight. There. Okay, I'll take. Knight d2, knight h3. I'm planning to activate my knight and get a decent position like that. Bishop d7, it does give up the pawn, however, there could be some tricks. I think it's manageable. It's manageable. But that pawn had to be defended with bishop f7. Bishop g2. Knight d7, let's over defend that knight. That's very important. There. Knight b6. Let's castle. Again, remember, once you get the center pawns, you want to put your king into safety. Okay, queen d7. There. I'm gonna break it up because the king is still in the middle. Takes. Let's take here. D5, just blocking in that bishop. Actually, blocked away, just realized it now. That will be an issue. Big issues over there. There, bishop b4, trying to go for that one. However, I can just take, because the situation didn't change. The bishop is still trapped on c6. Long castles. Again, I don't have to take immediately. I can first go queen b3, avoid the exchange of queens. Not necessary, however, still very good. In this case. There, I'll take now. I'll take it. B takes, go queen a4. There, rook d1. Let's go the other rook. Press the queen. Queen e6. Runs into rook e1. Whenever you get the chance, you want to put these guys on the open files. And now I think I have this beautiful sacrifice of knight c5, queen c6. Here, and checkmate on b3. So knight c5 takes check. Wherever you go here, I get mate on b7. If it goes there, check. I just queen a4 mate. And now my queen is coming in. The help of this bishop. Check. Yeah, and here, if here, I have mate m1. But my original calculation was queen b7 here, check, here, queen a3 check, here, and queen b3 checkmate. So this is what I envisioned at this position. That knight c5 takes check, here, check, here, check. Check on a3, that is, takes queen b3, checkmate. So this is the position I saw, and this is the one that I was looking for. So I decided to go this direction. GG's. 3 + 0 is the time control. Take care, Edgar Saint. Hope you had a good one. Okay, don't talk, play. As I really ask you guys to change it to 3 + 0 so more people get the chance to play. Let's go here. There, knight f3. Okay, knight e5. I actually do when I'm preaching. Get that knight in the center just to put some pressure there. Okay, e3. Bishop b4, but this runs g4, bishop e4, f3. Yes. So I'm trapping the bishop. Chess preacher, right, someday. Exactement. Exactement. And as we've seen before in the game review, this is a fairly exciting way of playing. Bishop g6, h4, trying to trap this bishop. h6, I can take. There. Bishop d3, just going for that weakened pawn. And now I have good pressure going on. So he missed h6. I don't know. Yeah, he missed that idea. Yes, exactly. For him, h6 would have been better. There. I can go king f1. Now I no longer in pin. I didn't want a castle now because there would be queen h4. That is something that I wanted to avoid. My king will be relatively safe on g2 as well. Queen f6. Okay. I'll take here. Go rook b1. Pressure on the pawn. Queen f7. Now I'm gonna go king g2 and my king is safe. I might even undermine it with f3 sooner or later. And then I have a very decent position. There are castles. Okay. Let's go rook f1, just preparing f3. And that could be a good idea. Yeah, now this is very unpleasant for black. Because of these plenty of pawn islands. This is just not ideal. You wanna face those. g5. Okay, I'll take. I'll mind. Go bishop d6. Ask where that rook is going. Takes. I'll take that. Takes king g3. And that's a target. There's just too many problems there. There. Okay, so it's time to get my rook on the open file. And this king is surprisingly prone to problems. Yeah, g5 is a bit late now. Exactly. Okay, knight a6, rook h5, just doubling up. Doubling on the bubble. Now it is kind of annoying. Rook h6. Hitting this. And I have this very pretty move of bishop e5. If it takes, then it's rook h1 checkmate. The king is stuck in this little corner. Kind of a rotated back rank. No, we're going for 3 plus 0. Yeah, GG. But this was one exception. Don't Talk was waiting for a long time. GG, Don't Talk. And the king just can't escape because of those pawns, and it's mate. All right. So, excellent. Let's play e4 for a change. Ah, thank you. Okay, let's play knight c3. f4. Let's do the Gambino. Good old Gambino. So probably gonna be able to play a few more games. Not that many. F4. So I'm trying to break up the center, and I can get 2 pawns for the pawn. That is good play. D5 is not good, because I can just take. Wait, can I just take? Or just knight d5. Knight d5 is better. If I take with the pawn, maybe knight d4, and it can get a little messy. Just a teeny bit messy. I don't want that. There, knight f3. Just developing. Never lose sight of that. Bishop g4, c3. Not only I take away that square, I also prepare d4 myself. Takes d4. Just notice that I have plenty of pawns in the middle. Queen f3. And I'm just ready to pounce. Queen h4. This runs into g3, and suddenly I defend that rook and hit that bishop. Takes. I hit the queen, hit the bishop. Knight c7 is also in the air. Plenty of threats. Plenty of stuff going on. Yeah, this is sort of annoying. D takes c5. There. Okay. There. Queen d7. Bishop f4. Developing is still crucial in this game. Ima, hello there. And yeah, now once I castle, this will be perfetto. Perfetto tutti. Sort of. Rook c8, but then my bishop shows up and win that rook as well. Note that f5 never works because I capture it. That is not a dream scenario. Hello, Labib. By the way, I have a question for you guys. Who's going to win the Clutch Championship? Hello. Okay, I can just take. There, I'm gonna take that. Check. And then it's breaking through. So many good players are playing. Induviel, not going for rated, so please challenge casual. There. And now let's go d4. Induviel, good luck. Alright, I think I will be able to play 2-3 more games. Then I'll have to go, unfortunately. Magnus, Fabian, MVL. Yeah. So who is going to dominate? Carlsen. I wonder how Fabiano will do. Okay, e4. There, let's go bishop g5 and queen d2. Just being very aggressive. Just very aggressive. Queen d2. Their attack. Actually, let's go h4 first. Just going for this h5 idea. Magnus will win. Oh my goodness, what a take. Wow. Yeah, it has some interesting format. I don't know what that is exactly. It's kind of convoluted, just a little bit. Not that it's bad, but it's just strange. Some points are worth more than others. That's kind of the gist of it all. f3. Gonna go h5 soon enough. There. Let's go h5, break it open. Take. Let's go knight e2. Oh, that's not a good idea with the f3 hanging. That is actually not a good idea. Got 2 people with it so far. Nice, Greta. And you are doing fine with it. c6. All right, let's go aggressive. Let's take there. Going for the attack. Knight g3. Knight is showing up. It is not the quantity, but the quality of the pieces that matter. Takes. Yep, knight h5, hitting that bishop. And I'm closing on in. Closing on in. Yeah, 2 less games are worth more points. Exactly. There. And take. Let's go here. Just to undermine that bishop. Queen b6. Trying to trick me. So again, let's castle before anything funny happens. Opponent was trying to be very tricky over there, and I didn't want any of that. None of that. Thank you for the follow, Karam Baba Brawler. How big of an advantage is to start playing chess at an early age? Well, then you have like an inherent feel for the game. That's the advantage you get. On the other hand, the older you get, the smarter you are. So even if you're like older and you're learning the game later, your strategic thinking based on science is better than the ones who are just growing up. This is knight d5, good. Yes. So really fret not. If you practice a lot, as an adult, you actually get better. Young kids have a little bit of an advantage, but their true talent will only shine later on. Okay, let's go bishop d3. Bishop d3 is not ideal. That's fine. Bishop d3 is fine. Look at that. We've got plenty of those guys lurking around the king. There, I can take, and I can take. Takes. 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 And the attack is just breaking through. GG's Induviel. G to the G. Right. More games. Now I have to go. D4. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Pupitas, it's your turn. Never forget it's your turn. Oh, knight c3. Alright, let's do different stuff this time. Okay. Knight f3. h4. Sort of aggressive play. a3. e3. There, I'm gonna go bishop e2. Just solid. This is the easiest way to unpin yourself. There, I'm gonna go knight e5. Eliminating this guy and clearing the view for my h-pawn. Queen takes e2. Takes de. Knight e4. And let's just keep it closed. Then start rolling with h5. Being the big idea. It did. That's interesting. Great, huh? c5. Let's roll. Let's roll. It's time to roll. Okay, we'll stop that and defend this pawn. Rook there. Little annoying. Rook b1. Activate our rook. e6. Okay. Way to go. It's gonna be a little risky, but I'm gonna try it anyways. Wow, greed. Greed is real. Okay. d3. Maybe I underestimated this position a little bit. And I'm still okay. Doing fine. There, d4. Wow. I'll take. Take. c4. Takes. Let's go c4. It is very sharp, I do admit that. Rook b3, just blocking this view. Blocking it. Queen a6. Okay, rook b4, so I defend that guy. In there. I'm gonna go king f1 just to defend and also jump away from any tricks, which is very important in this position. a5. Rook b3. There I'm gonna take and just run on n. Maybe I could even go e6. In both cases that looks very dangerous. There takes. Hitting this pawn. There. Queen e6. Oh, time. Time is not on my side. King f8. Where you going? Where you going? Okay. Let's take that. Where are you going, sir? Where are you going? Mate. Check to the mate. Okay, queen h7, just getting on in. Getting on in. Queen h8 and queen g7 is checkmate. G to the G. Mate wins the game. I know, that is shocking, but it's true. Always attack. G to the G, people. G to the G. All right. Unfortunately, after this game, I will have to go. But, well, definitely. Perk, I can't play the perk with white. Maybe I could, technically, maybe? I don't know. Possibly. Thank you for the follow. Litum bro. Go bishop g5 this time. Okay. Right. There. Wow, same thing. Over and over and over again. Oh. Exciting. Exciting. Okay. Knight e4 is very good. I shouldn't have ran into this one. Queen e3. Got to do it. No other choice. Yeah, this is normal. Little position. White is going for aggressive play. It does have its drawbacks. However, there are some positives too. Queen takes g5. Let's put some pressure there. c6. Alright, it's time to castle. And probably break in the middle. Whoa, Ukvar! Thank you for extending your tier 1 subscription to July. Nice. Okay. Let's go g4, asking where this bishop is going. And I can always go back to f4. Should be bueno. Bishop f6, queen f4. Ooh, I think I missed this beautiful idea of h5. And if takes, then bishop h6. Bishop e6, and I'm gonna roll. Got to roll like a boss. So, looks pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, took the pawn. Knight takes c4. I put pressure. And because I already castled, I have a pawn in the center. I think my chances are looking up. Go king b1, defend it. Also, now it's time to rush the board with h4, h5. Queen d5, knight c3. Stopping that, back. Don't want exchanges. No, thank you. No, thank you. There. H5. Going for the attack. Pawns don't matter. What matters is an attack. Okay. I see what black wants. I see what you want. What you really, really want. Takes. Knight g5. Going for the full throttle. It's not an opening, I guess. Wait, I could go there. Whoa, XK D2. Thank you for the host. 7 people. Hey, Olympiad. What's up? Yeah, but this is one of the last ones. F3. It's getting rid of that bishop there. Bishop d3. One for the attack. One full throttle. Bishop h6. Okay, rook g1. Eyeing the king. Note as those guys staring down the king. There. Boom, baby. G7 is incoming. Okay. Queen h6. Set up that threat. Queen g7. Okay. Bishop g6. And we have a threat over there. Takes. There. Knight e4. Bishop h5. There, c3. There, dc. Check. 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 And checkmate. Yay! The attack always wins. Hooray! Attacks win. Good. Anyways, thank you so much, guys, for watching. Unfortunately, I have to go now. Do check us out on our social media and such if you had fun. And if you didn't, well, you can still check out again as we have some fun things in the future for you. So I wish you had a good time. And with that, I say bye-bye.